welcome to another week of Protege Effect. This week we got something fun and funky that we saw a lot of people asking about on the groups. We ourselves didn't actually do much of this topic ourselves ever, so we thought we'll delve into it a bit, and we thought we'll do a bit of a team effort. But then Leana ran away with it and did the whole effort all by herself, basically. Carlo also dabbles in stamps and stuff from time to time in his business with more complicated things, but it's not really his forte or his thing. So I think with what most people want to do with laser cutting, what Leana's going to show us is going to be really cool, and I'm quite keen to try some of the stuff myself. All I know is, like Carlo knows, is how we can cut potatoes to make stamps, and never really thought of using the laser cutter to cut the potatoes, but try. Otherwise, Leana, then it's all over to you. Go for it, enjoy, have fun.
Thanks, Billy. Okay, so let me just get my screen share on ya. Right, can you all see?
Perfect.
Okay. Remember, if you want to ask a question, you can interrupt me anytime or just pop your question in the chat and Billy or Carly will tell me what you want to know. Okay, so this is my stamp making tutorial. And to start off with, I'm going to show you how to make a rubber stamp from start to finish. Not one of those fancy ones, just a normal rubber stamp that you can use for your business to amp things up a bit for your packaging and things like that. Okay, so to design your stamp, you can create a custom stamp. Sorry, let me just zoom in a little bit more. Okay, you can design a custom stamp from start to finish in just a couple of minutes. So to start off with, you need to select the shape that you want the stamp to be. So I have a circular logo, which you can see there. So I'm going to go for a circle. And when you have made your circle, just color it in white. I'll show you why in just a couple of minutes. Okay, so I'm going to go for about 60 millimeters, so resize the circle. And then this will be the cutout line for the piece of wood that I'm going to use as the backing. You don't need any fancy materials, just some MDF. I used 6mm, and then my rubber, my stamp rubber. Okay, so you are then going to take this shape. That is the cutout one, so let's just make it blue. And I'm going to duplicate this shape and then just make it a little bit tinier. So I'm going to go for 55 millimeters. This will then fit nicely. It's going to be the cutout line for the rubber. It's going to fit nicely inside the circle that I'm going to cut out from the wood. Okay, so now you can add your image or text or whatever you want to add. So if I want to do my logo, I will resize that to fit into, let me just zoom in a bit, to fit into my circle, right? And then it's going to look like that. But you can't engrave this. There's some color in there, so we need to remove the color as well. Just going to ungroup it. I've done most of the work while preparing this, so I'm just going to remove the color, and you have a black and white logo that you can then easily engrave. Okay, so you're going to add your image or text, and then you are going to remove any colors from the logo or design. You only want a black and white image. Okay, so let's leave the logo and put in some text. So I'm going to say baie dankie vir jou ondersteuning. And then let's just center this.
Leona, I think
and
you could
make it.
translate that directly to English. It says, very thank you for your undergrunting.
There you go. Okay, so under granting, you resize your text so that it fits into your circle. And that's also in black, so that's fine. And now you want to go and select both your cut line and your engraving. Go to effects. Effects, transform, and then invert colors. Right. We do that because we want the negative space of the design to engrave away and leave only the text or the image that you want. It also does depend on the kind of stamp you want to make. Maybe you want to have the negative space be the stamp, but usually if you only want the words or only the image, you'll do it like that. Okay, so we have inverted the colors, and then very important, because I always forget that, you need to mirror your design. So you can go to object and then transformations, scale and mirror. You can go there, but then it opens a docker on the side and it gets quite complicated. So I like to use the shortcut that's on top there, just mirror horizontally, and your design now looks like that. Okay, and when you have that, you are now ready to engrave and cut your stamp. So quick, simple design, you're ready to go. Some recommended settings for stamp rubber. If there's anybody that need settings for a laser different than 80 watt or 100 watt, you can just let us know and we'll give you the settings for some other ones. This is just recommended though, so you can start there and experiment with the settings and see what works for you and what works for your laser specifically, because it is going to differ for everybody. Okay, so on my 80 watt, I used 30% power to engrave at 300 millimeters per second, and I cut it at 35% power, 15 millimeters per second. Okay, then you can go to engraving and cutting your stamp. So make sure that the design, just check again, make sure your design is mirrored before sending the job to the laser. And then also, it depends on the wattage of your machine and the settings you are using. But if you see that maybe the rubber did not engrave deep enough, you can just do a few passes, 1 or 2 passes. I've only done 1, but you can do multiple passes if you require more depth. And then another nice tip that I found on the group, stamp rubber is quite messy to engrave and cut, but just some Q20, or I actually see now that I don't have Q20, I have WD-40, but close enough. That makes cleanup of the stamp rubber a breeze. Okay, so just again the recommended settings so that you can check your settings before engraving. And now I am going to quickly, I have Q20 as well.
I guess it makes a mess because all that rubber that you're burning away has to go somewhere. Not everything turns into fumes, so there's all that particles of rubber.
Exactly, yeah, it is.
It's like it becomes an oily mess because that's what rubber is usually made of, and that sticks to everything. So yeah, it's better to clean after every few things of rubber you cut. Don't cut like a whole day and then clean the machine, because by that time it's unhot like crazy.
Okay. So yeah, if you engrave this, it leaves this white, I don't even want to say powdery because it's kind of sticky and just yucky, that residue all over the rubber, so that is not nice. I just want to change my camera view here. So when you have engraved your stamp, it's going to look like this. And my stamp rubber is actually red, so this is very, very dirty. Okay, so I'm going to take some of the Q20. And you'll see that when I spray that on there, immediately all of that residue is coming off. So really quick and easy. And then I'm going to grab a wet wipe. I always have wet wipes at hand. It's one of the things that I can't work without. It's just a bag of wet wipes next to me.
Yeah, it's
That's
weird.
why I wanted to actually show you guys, because this is awesome. Okay, this is just some hot water and a little bit of sunlight. I just want to get that oiliness of the...
I thought you were going to put margarine on next to seal it or something.
I would have sat for days with a wet wipe and some alcohol trying to clean out.
Okay. And you just cut this dry. And it really is very, very quick and easy. Usually what I'll do is just take an old toothbrush and just rub it into all of those little nooks and crannies. You can see it's still a little bit dirty, but for our purposes here, it will work. So that is my rubber that I've cut. This is my piece of wood. And then to stick this to the wood, I just use some thin double-sided tape. That's a piece. Stick that to the back of your rubber. It doesn't want to stick to the rubber. That is why you have to properly wash off the Q20. It's not sticking. Okay. There we go. Right. And you can then just stick it to the piece of MDF. Okay, there you go. And then you have an ink pad and a piece of paper. Just to test this out. Let's see if I'm going to have some ondersteuning or if I'm just going to steun because of this. And there you go. So what I usually do is I have my logo that is on stamp already. I have made previously. So I cut out little circles of brown cardstock, and then I do the logo stamp on one side and the baie dankie vir jou ondersteuning, or thank you very much for your support. And I tie it with a little string to my products, and it looks very professional, and it's very quick and easy to just make a nice little stamp like this. Personalize it with your logo, with whatever message you want to give to your clients. Nice and easy. Okay, so this is then the rubber stamp, but then I want to show you a couple of other ones. You can also, if you don't have stamp material, you can also do a stamp using normal MDF. This is just normal MDF that I've engraved, and this one I've done with the negative space so that the words remain clean, and then the negative space around it is stamped. The MDF, you just really have to ink it very well. This one I actually did the wrong way around, so let's see, this one I did forget to mirror. So if we stamp that one, There you go, and that is just using plain MDF.
That is
No
actually
stamp.
stamping pretty nice for probably the most budget stamp that you can make. That is,
Yeah. And then this one did not work with, nicely when I tested it, so I won't recommend this. But yeah, you can see the difference there between the negative space one engraved away and then the negative space not engraved away. So if you invert your colors and not invert your colors.
You can make an artsy effect to that. You can make that negative space one like a pink or something, and then you stamp with your MDF one. You try and line it up more or less, or a little bit skew. That looks like a stamp in a stamp or something.
Yeah, you can actually. Yeah, that's quite a nice idea. You can play around with something like that. Okay, then.
Leana, before we go, somebody's got a question about the rubber. Alicia was asking,
Yes.
on which side of the rubber do you engrave? Do you do it on the dull side or do you engrave on the shiny side? And does it make a difference?
Wait, let me just check now. I see that mine is shiny and dull, but I've never noticed that before, to be honest. It has some engraving on the front here, or on the shiny side. So I assume that the shiny side should be up. So that's what I did. I engraved on the shiny side. I have no idea if it will make a difference. Actually, I don't know. I really don't know. So sorry about that. But yeah, then just some other ideas quickly, because you can make basically any kind of stamp using any material. This is just some Play-Doh. If you make like sets for kids to play with, you can use either MDF or Perspex. And then what I've done is I've also made a stamp using Perspex. It was clear Perspex, so you can actually see what the design looks like from the top. I engraved away the negative space. This I did for a potter. She wanted to brand all her ceramic ware, so you just press it into the clay, and when you lift it up, you have your design nicely imprinted into the clay. So you can do this for we'll just see if it wants to focus. Okay, no, I don't think the color of the clay is a bit difficult to see, but yeah. So you can then also do a logo or something for if you want to brand the pottery, or if you are making this for children, you can maybe do like the alphabet or numbers or little insects and fish or whatever you want the theme of the set to be. Then I've also made some quick and easy. I just cut out little 6mm blockies, and this one is a foam sheet that I cut into little heart and also into little flowers. So these ones, I will just take my normal wood glue. I use no more nails. I use no more nails. So just take a little bit of that wood glue and dab it onto the foam sheet. You can also use the double-sided tape. It will work for this as well. And then you stick it onto your little blocky and you have a nice stamp. Another very cool idea that I saw was to buy those wooden cubes, and then you can do a stamp on each side of the cube. So you have like a 6-in-1 cube with six different stamps on there. So to show you, where's my internet now? The foam rubber actually works very, very nicely because it gives you a nice, crisp and clear edge when you stamp it. Whereas if you use something like felt, this is just some felt, but I cut into a little blocky. If you do that one, it gives you a much more fuzzy look. So maybe you can do like a little teddy bear shape, but it's gonna look all fuzzy, and then you can do a face, for example, using some foam rubber, and you can put a nice solid face on a fuzzy little teddy bear. So just another idea for a stamp there. And then what I also want to show you with this one is if you add some paint. You guys know I can't do a tutorial without using paint there. I need some color and fun. Okay, so I chose blue for a flower. Anyway, so this is also fun for the kids to do. And you can sell this with like a little set of finger paint, or just make it for your own kids or whatever.
If you do that, you're not limited to one color. You can make it multicolors if you like.
Exactly, yeah. And then it also gives you a very pretty little stamp. Just you.
That was going to be my question just now is, have you actually tried using paint? Because we've actually discussed it a few times. And we wonder if you actually put paint on the thing, if it'll work better. And we've never ever tried it. And I was going to ask
No,
you.
it does. It works.
Yeah.
It works great. So it's, yeah.
You don't have to go and buy ink, stamp ink for an excuse to not do your own stamps. As long as you've got any kind of paint, you can just
exactly.
put it on
Yeah.
and
So
stamp away.
let's try the MDF one with paint. I haven't done that. What you can also do, especially like for the clay ones, for this, like this Perspex one that I did with the clay, is to cut out the letter and then paste it onto a block. So it will just give you like a deeper impression. And then another one that I haven't done myself, but it will also actually be very cool to do, is if you, and I've seen those done with both MDF and Perspex, is you can make your own leather debossing stamps. And you engrave it, you wet the leather, and you press it, you press the leather and the stamp in between two plates, and then you let it dry, and you can deboss your own leather products. It's also very, very nice idea, but I haven't done that one myself. So let's just quickly do this one, and this is the one that I forgot to mirror now. So just in case you forget, remember to mirror your image always. The MDF one with the paint is not working so nicely.
I'm just wondering if you put something softer underneath it, if that will not make a difference.
But also, I think the paint dries pretty quick.
Yeah, I think that is
On the MDF, so by the time you stamp, it's dry.
It's actually not drying that quickly. It was still wet, but I'll give it see.
I think that might be too soft. I had something in mind like the actual rubber, the stamping rubber, if you use that as an impression pad at the bottom.
Okay, let's try the stamp rubber. You can see the paint is still wet. Nope. Well, maybe if you play with it and do like a foam, those foam rollers for the paint, and just maybe roll over the paint onto your stamp and then press it. But yeah, I think the foam rubber ones are much better for.
But I think as with
We're using
anything
it.
else, you can experiment with it, try different settings and different ways, and I'm sure one can
Yeah.
improve on it. It's like anything else.
So if we,
And sometimes you actually want that effect that it looks like a broken stamp. So you don't want it to stamp perfectly. You want it to fade away. You want some stuff to be missing. And if you're doing a treasure chest or something like that, we want it to look quite funky.
yeah, and then with the paint you can really get creative, and they, oh, I smudged it now. Do like a multicolored one.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so that is something nice to play with and to use. Yeah. If you want to go and make anything from tonight's tutorial, foam rubber you can get from Anna-Marie. The paints I used, you can get from Anna-Marie. She has the stamp rubber. She has those, what do you call them? Those self-inking stamps. Yes, she has the self-inking stamps, the stamp rubber, the foam sheets, the paint, anything you need to make your stamps. I'm sure Anna-Marie will.
Yeah, the nice thing with the self-inking stamps is that it comes with this little rubber key and everything already to the right size. So you just make yourself a little jig, you put the rubber key in, and when you're done, it's normally got an adhesive backing, if I'm not mistaken, Leana, and then you just paste it onto the bottom and your stamp's ready to go. And
I think so. I've never done those.
oh, okay. The ones I've done actually had it's a little kit that you buy. All you got to do is put the thing engrave the part, take it out.
Yeah.
Paste it, and you're good to go. And remember to take the little protective part off over the rubber. I thought the stamp was old and broken. In the meantime, it's got a little protection that you first got to take off to actually a little plastic daxel key you can put on it. I was like stamping this thing and it wouldn't stamp. In the meantime, it wasn't.
And
open.
remember to mirror your image.
Yeah.
What I do on Coral Laser, actually, there's a little box that you can tick within Coral Laser that automatically mirrors your artwork when you send it to engraving. So I tick that when I do stamps, and then you can just continue without having to remember to mirror anything. But then when I'm done using doing the stamps and I go back, then I forget to untick it, and then everything else is mirrored again. So either way, just remember about the mirroring. Doesn't matter which method you use, just remember to mirror.
I made the big mistake once where you've got in Coral Laser, there's an option where you invert your engraving. I had to do a stamp, inverted the engraving, not the actual design. And the next thing I had to do was a photo, and I forgot to switch that off.
Oops.
That was a very expensive mistake.
When we do expensive items like tumblers and things, that's it's a couple of $100 per tumbler, or expensive knives and stuff. We two-man it. Tanya sits at the computer, that's her responsibility, and I stand at the machine. So I get everything lined up, and then we talk, and then I go through the whole process. Have you mirrored? Have you checked this? Have you checked this? Have you checked this? Have you checked this? And then she repeats everything to me. Yes, I've done this, and she says to the machine, because you might be doing a 150 Rand job, but you're working on a 400 Rand or what's it, 750 Rand knife. So you don't want to mess it up. So we do that in the evening when everything's quiet, and we two-man it. And I actually then, even though she says to me that she's done it, I walk to the computer after she said, and I said, okay, can you show me all the settings? And we just take the extra 5 minutes, and I actually see them with my own eyes, and vice versa. She'll get up and she'll look at the machine, and she'll say, okay, right. And then when we hit press, we press the button and we walk away.
That's a standard workflow, and people will normally tell you, I don't have the time to do that, and you don't have the time to do that until you make the mistake, and then you realize it's much cheaper to do that and be efficient eventually rather than making the mistake, especially when it's something big or that takes quite a while. So yeah, that's actually something that's that I wish more people would introduce and would get into the habit of doing. And I must say, I was blown away by the WD-40. The couple of stamps that I did, funny enough, I've got one lying here, and as it came out of the machine, it was just dust, sitting with a kwassie and blowing a mini kwassie, and it just never gets, it's like it's producing more while I'm using the kwassie.
And it just sticks to everything.
As much as I hated the stamps, I want to go and do a stamp just to try the WD-40 trick.
What will happen
The
if
one.
you WD-40 it lightly before the time? I wonder if it'll stink or if it's poisonous or... Because I'm thinking, well, I wonder what it would do. We've also got some rubber
Like
stamps
the
now, and if we put
sunlight soap
yeah, if we put soap, if that catches some of the
method.
dust at least, maybe be a bit more aggressive with the sunlight soap. Because that's what I found
I
with the
don't
perspex.
know.
All the dust goes and sits onto the sunlight soap, and then it doesn't sit
Yeah.
on the perspex.
Yeah, because this one actually works so nicely. I didn't even think about trying anything else. Yeah, so I thought I only had the WD-40, but then Donnie brought me the Q20 now. So when I cleaned the rubber now, I used the Q20, but the previous time I used the WD-40, and I must say both of them work.
Can I slightly off topic share a quick tip with you on the WD-40? And those of you listening, if you look at the WD-40, Leana, if you hold that can up and you take the doppy off, you'll see on that
let me just
on the rim, there'll be a little blue dot on the WD-40 can. On the top rim, you'll see, if you turn it, you'll see a blue dot.
Oh, I see the blue dot there.
Yeah.
There you go.
So if you
Right over
twist
there.
the opening of the nozzle, so that the opening of the nozzle is right over that blue dot, then your can
Like
is guaranteed, yes, that you will get all the product out of the can. If it's not like that, you won't get all the product out of the can. Your can will stop spraying, and you won't understand why there's still some WD-40 underneath in the can.
Mine was not like that.
So when you get a WD-40,
okay, can't explain.
I don't know how it works, but a rep who sells WD-40 told me that once. And ever since I've been using it, I do that. And I know you can get the full usage out of it. If you don't do that, the last bit you will not get out of the can.
Now I want to check this one as well.
I'm not so sure on that one if it has the same.
No dot, yeah.
No dot.
No
right.
dot, yeah, but on the WD-40 it's there.
Yes.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. On the stamps that you made with the MDF and the perspex, what I think that we can also add on there is that if you wanna or need a deeper, especially when you do the stamping into the clay or something like that, if you increase the power or reduce your speed, you should get a deeper engrave.
Or just do multiple passes, but I don't like doing multiple passes.
I also don't like doing multiple passes. So I think if you slow it down a little bit, I've seen actually people
you'll be able to go deeper.
When they do stamps, they do a cleaning pass where they drop the power even more so that it doesn't engrave through. Then apparently the machine does a cleaning pass. I've never done it. I don't know if any one of you have ever heard of it or done it before. Something
I've heard of it, but I've never done it.
Yeah, it's never been needed. But what I've seen on it, and that's also just because I've been looking ever since when I started talking about the stamps and preparing and doing it, it looks like if you do a cleaning pass the second time and you drop the power, but it just makes the non-stamping area a bit cleaner, especially if you're going to stamp it into like a wax or a pottery or something like that. But don't take my word for it. I haven't done it. I've only seen somebody do it. But yeah, I think it's worthwhile testing. Yeah, and for the stamps, I think especially, well, I was going to say if you want to remove it, but if you stick it on something like MDF, you don't need to remove it. But if you're making a stamp where the stamp itself is quite expensive, especially the self-inking stamps, then it's probably better to use something like a double-sided tape or something which you can
because the double-sided tape that I've used on this one now, it will easily peel off if I want to remove the rubber. So that's why
Yeah, the one thing that I think what I thought about when I saw you using the double-sided tape, if your stamp is quite fine and has fine detail on, then I think you must make sure that you use the double-sided tape when you put it on the back of the stamp, let it cover all over where the stamping area is, so you don't have different heights. If you have different heights, then you might get a bit of a...
This one is very, very thin though. It just leaves the sticky residue part behind, so it's quite flat. I use this for gluing cake toppers and very small details that I have to cut out. Yeah, then I just stick this on the back of the cardstock or the foam sheets or the MDF or whatever I want to cut. Then I cut it and then I just peel off the paper backing, and it's like little sticker keys that I can